So here's the microburst that happened in Tucson, Arizona. We're going to be watching the just downburst of the winds and the water. Slow motion. And we're going to take a look at how these form. Not the way your typical weatherman tells you, but the actual real way. Alright, so before we get into how rain bombs are actually formed, not the way the meteorologists tell you, we're going to go take a look at this Bloomberg article. Now, these guys here at Bloomberg, they believe that the climate change is responsible for how the weather has been reacting. But I have a different take on this. Now, on June 23rd, more than 8 to 10 inches fell within half a day, and they call this a once every 1,000-year rainstorm. May and early June dropped 5 times as much rain as normal near Houston, seriously challenging the definition of normal. More than a dozen people died. It was the 5th major flood in just over a year. Rainfall is trending higher nationally through paving over much of Texas probably doesn't help. The most dramatic image come from Bruce Hafner, a Phoenix TV helicopter pilot who snapped what looks like a 20 megaton warhead going off. This is normally known as a rain bomb. Now, in meteorology terms, these are called wet microbursts, and they're supposed to happen rarely. And what they say is a thunderstorm runs into a dry patch of air that sucks some moisture away. The air underneath the storm clouds, making it more dense than the air around it. The cooler air begins to drop into the even warmer air and then accelerates. When the faucet really flips on, air can blast out of the sky at more than 115 miles an hour. It deflects off the ground and pushes wind outward at or near tornado strength. The Phoenix event above was actually a macroburst with a radar footprint wider than 2.5 miles. Scientists understand mechanics of small-scale weather events such as rain bombs, tornadoes, and severe thunderstorms. The past few years have seen modest improvements in projections of how these storms might behave in changing atmosphere region by region. The research rain events for us being less frequent but more intense due to climate change seems to be our new reality, which I completely disagree. What's known with much greater confidence by climatologists is that storms should continue to intensify. There's little question that by stockpiling water vapor, the atmosphere is building a worldwide arsenal of rain bombs, or, if you like, wet microbursts, macrobursts, or just your typical Noah-scale deluges. And unlike, say, the study of climate change and its relationship to war, why the sky keeps falling is clear. And they're going to blame this on the increased amount of carbon dioxide in the air by more than 40% above pre-industrial levels, and that's complete nonsense. The CO2 and climate pollutants trap more heat in the atmosphere. The atmosphere holds more water vapor, about 4% more for every degree Fahrenheit rise in temperature. Water vapor and energy in the system mean more intense storms and lots and lots and lots of water. But the problem is that I have with this, and this is my opinion, is the CO2 and pollutants that are being trapped in the atmospheres from the weather modification programs that we prove over and over and over again. They use these weather modification programs to drought out whole countries. Scientists can't say where the next rain bomb may land. They still don't know where lightning will strike next, but it's clear from wide-range research that human activity has weaponized the atmosphere, and I can agree with the activity has weaponized in the atmosphere. It's because they are weaponizing it, the powers that be, and I'm going to show you this. If you watch any of my weather warfare videos, you know that we expose them and all the things they do. So let's take a look one more time at this microburst, and then we're going to take a look at the radar map back in 2015 of when this happened, and I'm going to show you exactly how they created this. These are man-made. This is not natural phenomenon like they say. Now before we jump into these maps, I want to show you a 1920s spray that they did back in the 20s called a smoke curtain. This is a smoke curtain from the 1920s. Now we're going to get to the radar maps. So here we are one day before the microburst. And here's Tucson, Arizona. Remember the smoke curtain I just showed you? Well, this is all the geoengineering. This is geoengineering. This is not some kind of a water vapor coming out of the back of the planes. These are chemical induced clouds. All this, you can see the different color to actual geoengineering. It's a completely different color than your normal clouds because they're dropping all these heavy metals and stuff. Let me try the base layer, the smoke curtain, but you can see they try to hide this with the different layers. But if you kind of pick and choose the layers and look how it goes, so you know geoengineering this day, but they are definitely geoengineering to guide the storm. And we can see this is where our microbursts happen. We'll go up one more day, completely gone. Let's go back a day. We'll try changing the resolutions. Plenty of geoengineering going off the coast. One thing I wanted to show you, in the same time frame, we had tons of fires going back here in August 2015. Fires up everywhere. There was tons of fires going on. Go back another day. There's even a fire here in Arizona on the 4th. You can see all this land that's been burnt. See the smoke. And you just go up to one day, you can see tons of geoengineering, which we just looked at. I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to show you some NEXRAD radar, how they use it, the cell phone towers. This will be courtesy of STFN News.
Imperial masters by the occult, by Luciferians, and they own the weather. And our theory here is that when these cult members saw this report on spiritual revival in West Virginia, the first thing that came to their minds was that they have to put a stop to this. Standard propaganda wasn't going to work in this case, and so they needed something dramatic. The question you should be asking yourself now is, can we prove it? Yes, we can. Here's the NEXRAD view of the storm that pummeled West Virginia. Notice anything off? Notice anything down? The NEXRAD force field is down. Should we say that again? Take a look at the month of April of this year. The time scale here is 2 ticks an hour. Notice anything happening in the middle of the night? A huge NEXRAD pulse goes from the east coast to the west coast. And just about every time the NEXRAD pulse ripples from east to west, storms seem to weaken or dissipate. It looks like they're doing maintenance on the weather. To see how effective these pulses are, just look at these zoomed in events. The wave comes through and the storms dissipate, and quite nicely at that. Here's another one. The wave comes in and the storm is gone. The only part left was right outside the event horizon. The month of May and the beginning of June displayed the exact same characteristics. The month of May, a pulse would come in the middle of the night, every night, to weed out the storms. Then just a couple of weeks ago, the pattern changed. No more waves, just a constant low buzz in the Midwest. Now we've come to the conclusion when these waves come in from the front and hit these storms, it'll neutralize them. However, if these NEXRAD radars are just turned on low and sitting behind the storm, it will amplify them. So it seems like this NEXRAD network has 2 modes of operation: protect or incubate. And it's during this NEXRAD incubation mode that these storms rip in through West Virginia. Is it coincidence or is it something else? Join us for our special live coverage on the NEXRAD weather maps on our Facebook channel. That's Facebook.com/STF News. And if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.